if you told somebody, my kids are good students, that would be like, oh, BB plus. If I said my kids are great students, those are A students. But in no industry is good. He's a good pilot. That means he's never crashed. Is he top of his class? He's a great pilot. That's Sully Sullenberger landing on the Hudson. But good in every industry is a nice thing to say. So I've always said Brock Purdy is good. But he made about 3 throws today. And I'm like, okay, do I got to go to very good? So now Debo's a matchup nightmare for Seattle's young corners. It was just a problem. But he made throws today. And these were, John, so much of this league, you see it all the time. Even with San Francisco's clever offense, you get about 3 throws a game where Kittle's behind the corner. That doesn't happen that often. You get about 3 a game, maybe 2. And Purdy makes those every time. He doesn't miss much on that stuff. So as somebody who knows the Niners, has been around the Niners, I wonder, I really do. They're not going to pay him now. But I if he stays healthy, I don't know if you can move off him with Kyle's offense.
Yeah, Colin, he's going nowhere. He's turning into the mobile Drew Brees. I've been saying this now for a couple of weeks. He's everything that I think the Browns and John Dorsey thought they were getting when they drafted Baker Mayfield number 1 overall. The accurate, explosive arm, but kind of he's not as outspoken, but he's got a little cockiness in the way he plays. And, the big difference this Niner team under Purdy and what they were when they were successful and won a lot of games with Jimmy Garoppolo, well, a lot of those games were like 23-21 because Jimmy never hit that guy wide open. Never did. He could hit the slant route, he could hit the quick screen, but he never made the explosive play. The other thing that Purdy brings to the table that I don't think a lot of people want to give him credit because he's a little white guy, he's a really good athlete. He is quick, he can move, and he's a very accurate playmaker when he scrambles. So part of it is like, and this is what Andy Reid's always had, great schematic guy, but he likes his quarterback from Favre to Donovan to Michael Vick to now Patrick Mahomes. Sometimes you have to make a play outside of what I call, and that leads to greatness. Like Josh Allen is what he does is insane. But Kyle, like not every play call he's going to call is going to work perfectly on time. Sometimes shit hits the fan, a guy slips, a defensive lineman gets through. I need the quarterback to bail me out, and Jimmy could not. And Purdy really can. Like, I don't even see how anyone could argue, like, Brock Purdy's physically never going to be Josh Allen. He's never going to run down the field like Lamar Jackson. But if we all watch football, depending on how old you are, most of your adult life, and you watch that guy play and go, that's a really good quarterback, I don't know what to say. Is he headed to the Hall of Fame? We got a long way to go. How much they're going to give him? They can't even pay him after the 3rd year. So they got all this year and all next year, and they honestly have the 4th year if they want to run it out. But this version of Brock Purdy, I mean, he's a lock NFC Pro Bowler. Right there, him and Dak Prescott are only the clear guys in the NFC. Now that Goff's kind of fallen off and Jalen's banged up. Probably be Jalen, but like he's no doubt about it. And you could argue, I mean, you look around the NFL, we'll see how it like was he a top 5 guy this year in a vacuum? I think you could make the argument when it's all said and done. If he keeps going like this, because like you said, he's not some Alex Smith dink and dunk guy. This guy is pushing the ball down the field.
No, I mean, Debo today, they had 527 yards. So, I mean, this is, and again, when you watch, my takeaway on this game, and they're just such a well-run operation, that the difference between a defensive coach, Pete Carroll, and an offensive coach. San Francisco has players wide open, is constantly fooling Seattle's defense. Seattle's big plays are Drew Lock hits DK Metcalf, who he's so physically big. Yeah. But Pete didn't get along with Russ. DK Metcalf I love him, but he is out of control. I start looking at Seattle. John, they're going to draft about 15th. That does give them a shot for quarterbacks. And at the very end of this, we're going to talk about Jaden Daniels, the kid from LSU who won the Heisman, because I want to spend 5 minutes on that. I have a theory on that. But I look at Seattle, and my question to you is, what are they now? They're not clever. They don't have a quarterback. They had no real legitimate, no offensive coach would have moved off Russell for Geno. That's not what an offensive coach would do. You'd have to have a better game plan. No coach I know that I respect offensively, and I've talked to a couple, is a Drew Lock fan. So, like, what is Seattle now? They're 6-7, and I look around the NFC, and I'm like, Green Bay looks like a playoff team to me with an offensive coach and some twitchy athletes. What is Seattle?
The Rams? I mean, the Rams surely look like a playoff team as well, and they are to beat Seattle.
We could talk about that, but That first half that Sean McVay put up today, John, it was one of the best first halves by anybody. Like, I watched Seattle and I'm like, what the hell are they?
Well, I look at Seattle the same way I do the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Mike's, a lot younger than Pete. Right. So if he, is looking for a job, it'd be much easier for people would be lined up to hire him. I just think it's over both places. It's just over. It doesn't mean they're bad. I don't think they forgot football overnight. But don't things run their course? Like Andy Reid once got fired in Philadelphia, right? Things just end. And I watched Pete Carroll today. Like, he has no answers. He's had an incredible run. I think Greg Olsen, who was just awesome, by the way. I mean, what an easy guy to listen to on the broadcast. His resume in Seattle speaks for itself. He resurrected the franchise. He's gave them a competitiveness that they did not have, but it's over. And I think, and now obviously financially, he makes a lot of money. Tomlin never had the losing season. Like, if I'm both those two teams and I'm Seattle and I look at Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, like, how are we beating those guys? We're not, because we've invested a ton on defense. It's not like they have a bunch of seventh rounders making no money on defense. I mean, Jamal Adams has to play and he gets cooked. And well, why do they want Jamal Adams? Because Pete Carroll, thinking like 1990, a guy like that who can't play, can't cover a soul.
Can't cover anybody.
You got to be careful. You got to be careful when you're tweeting about Jamal Adams. He gets very edgy. He goes after, significant others. But and I look the same thing with Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, it's just run its course.